Okay, everybody, so here's what we're going to do. You're going to go to page 125, and you're going to go through and you're going to solve this set. Okay, go through and answer these questions. No decimal numbers, just 125, not 126. Solve these the best you can, no decimal answers, and then you're going to come back to the video and watch the video and check your answers. If your answers are correct, you're done. If your answers are wrong, erase what you missed and then scroll the video to find the problem that you missed and go through and see what you might have done wrong, or go through and see if you can compare your work to my work. Okay, so hit pause, answer question page 125, and then move on and check your answers. Okay, so welcome back. Here are your answers to this page. Okay, so there's your 4 answers to 125. If you didn't get these answers, then I want you to scroll and find the problems that you missed. If you got all 4 right, you are done. Go ahead on to the next assignment. Okay, so if you're still watching, I'm assuming it's because you want to go through and see how to do these problems. So I'm going to go in order, starting with the top left problem. So when we check out this first problem, and I'm looking at it, I initially see, like, looky here, I already have a match with my y's. So I don't need to go through and do anything special here other than go through and say, oh, they are the same. So I'm going to want to go through and I'm going to subtract everything. So when I go through and I subtract these, I'm going to get negative 1x. That goes to 0. And again, I'm going to be careful here with this. Negative 4 minus a negative 13, that might be where you made an error, is really negative 4 plus 13, so that's going to give me a positive 9. When I'm done here, dividing both sides by negative 1, I'm going to get x equals a negative 9. So there is my first answer. X is negative 9. Now I'm going to take that answer, I'm going to plug it back into one of these guys, and I'm actually going to go with this top equation. So 2 times negative 9 is negative 18, plus 2y equals negative 4. And so now, whenever I go through here, I'm going to undo this negative 18, this minus 18 really, with adding 18 to both sides. And then I just keep balancing that problem. 2y then equals 14, sorry about the purple line, divide both sides by 2, and I get y equals 7 for my y answer. Now again, if I want to go through and double check that guy, and I go to my second equation that I didn't use, 3 times negative 9 is negative 27. 2 times 7 is 14. And if I add negative 27 plus 14, I do get that negative 13. So I know that I have a good answer. Okay, so that was the top left problem. If you're watching this problem, this is the top right problem. Again, going through and looking this guy, I would look at my numbers here, and I'm going to keep change this here so I see it. You could easily make a match with the x or the y. I'm going to go through, I'm going to make a match with the y this time and multiply the bottom by 2. So that means my top is going to stay the same as negative 2x plus 6y equals 30. And then that bottom equation, just make sure you're multiplying everything by 2 there. So I get the 8x plus a negative 6y equals 24. And now my match is in with my y's there, and they are opposite matches. So that means I'm going to go through it and I am going to add everything. And so when I'm adding everything here, I'm going to get 6x, that goes to 0, and 30 plus 24 is 54. And I have this little baby problem to solve, divide everything by 6, so I get x equals 9. So there is my first answer, 9 comma something. Now I'm going to take that 9 and I'm going to plug it back into one of these equations. I'm actually going to go with that bottom equation. 4 times 9 is 36, so I'm going to just write that right away. Plus the negative 3y equals 12. And now my quick little two-step balancing problem, I'm going to subtract 36 from both sides. And so I get this negative 3y equals negative 24. Again, use your calculator to help, and then divide both sides by that negative 3, and I get y equals 8. Again, I'm going to put my 8 in there, but again, I'm going to take all of 10 seconds and I'm going to come back up to that other equation. I'm going to plug these numbers in. Remember, you can do this straight on your calculator and type it all in, but since I don't have my calculator on my screen, I'm just going to do the math here. Negative 2 times 9 is negative 18. 6 times 8 is 48, and negative 18 plus 48 is 30. So I know I have a good answer. Okay, let's move on. If you're watching this, this is the bottom left problem. And with the bottom left problem, a couple things to watch in this guy before we get started. I'm going to do my keep change here, and that means I'm going to have a negative 1 there and a keep change here with this. And so now when I'm looking at this to make my match, I have some options here. And I think this time I'm going to make a matches with my, oh gosh, the choices. I'm going to make match with my x's, and I'm going to multiply the bottom by 6. So that means I'm going to keep this top equation as 6x plus a negative 1y. And again, I would write in that negative 1 equals negative 23. And now when I go through here, remember, this is like having a negative 1x here. So 6 times negative 1x is negative 6x. And I'm going to have plus negative 30y. And 6 times 9 is 54. Now, there's my matches with my x, so they are opposite matches. So that means I'm going to go through and I'm going to add everything now. And so when I add those go to 0. When I add these, this actually gives me a negative 31y. And you're thinking that's a weird number, but look what happens over here when you add these guys together. Okay, sort of trust your math. When you add these guys together, now you're getting 31, and it's a nice number when you divide. So if you made any errors, I would go back and double check to see, what are your numbers looking like? Did you actually add correctly, or are you missing a negative somewhere? Because your final answer here should have been y equals negative 1. Now again, remember, when you go to write this, that y is negative 1, so make sure you're putting that in that y spot. And so now what I'm going to go through, and I'm going to take this and I'm going to plug it into one of these problems here. And I'm actually going to go with the top equation. I'm going to keep that 6x plus, and negative 1 times negative 1 is going to give me a positive 1 equals a negative 23. Again, quick balancing problem. You should be a pro with these by now. Subtract 1 from both sides, so I get 6x equals negative 24. Sorry about the purple line. Divide both sides by 6. I get x equals negative 4. Plug that in as my other x answer. And again, if I want to double check my work here, I'm going to use the other equation, the original. I don't need I don't need this one anymore for the times 6 whenever I go to plug it back in. So if I check this, a negative 4 is 4 minus, and really it's a keep change, so plus that negative 5 times negative 1 is 5, a little bit easier to see there. 4 plus 5 does equal 9, so I know I have a good answer. Okay, if you're looking at this problem, this is the bottom right problem on page 125. And this guy, again, is a little bit harder here because I don't have a match with either my x's or my y's. And I am going to do a keep change here so I can see that that's a negative 7. And when I'm looking at this guy to make my match, I'm going to make a match with my x's. I think matching to a 10 is a lot easier than matching to a 70 with the y. So it means I'm going to multiply the top equation by 2 and the bottom equations by 5. And so that means whenever I'm done here, I'm going to have this 10x plus a negative 14y equals a negative 22. And again, if you're looking at this and you missed this one initially, make sure, did you make sure that you went through and you multiplied everything? 5 times negative 2 is going to be a negative 10x. 5 times that 10y is 50y. And again, when you're going through here, if you don't know what 5 times 26 is, go to your calculator. But you should get 130 for that. Now, whenever I'm looking to see here, my matches are here with my x's, and they're opposite matches. So that means I'm going to go through and add to make that go to 0. I'm going to add here, and I'm going to add here. Okay, and so whenever I go through here and I double check this, that goes to 0. When I look at this negative 14y plus 50, that means I'm going to get 36y there. And again, if you're not sure, please, please, please go to your calculator to double check that. Okay, and then we're going to have a negative 22 plus that 130 there, and that is then going to give me 108. Okay, And so we have this 36y equals 108. And again, divide both sides by 36, a quick balancing problem. Don't know this. Go to your calculator. 108 divided by 36 is going to be 3. Okay, so again, now we've got that first number there. I know that my y, I know that my y is 3. Make sure I put that in the y spot. And I'm going to take that y, I'm going to go back to one of these original problems here. Whatever one you think looks easiest to you. I'm going to go to the bottom one. So I'm going to keep that negative 2x plus 10 times 3 is 30. So 30 right away on that equals 26. And now whenever I go through to balance this guy, right, it's a quick balancing problem. Start with subtracting that 30 from both sides. So I have that negative 2x equals negative 4. And then look at that. Divide both sides by negative 2. And then we get x equals a positive 2 for that answer. Now again, I'm going to take 10 seconds. I'm going to check this guy. 5 times 2 is 10. Negative 7 times 3 is a negative 21. And whenever I do 10 plus negative 21 there, you do get that negative 11. So you know you are correct. Okay, I hope this helped, and good job.